What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another MD Fish Tanks build video. Today we're stripping it right back. Just a light and a vase and some plants and then whatever else is in the vase. But other than that, it's just a light. This one is so simple. I love doing these kind of builds. This is the sort of stuff that I did when I started the channel, and I kind of want to go back to that a little bit again, you know, every now and again. Switch it up, do complicated builds, your big builds and your small builds. Anyway, let's get started. First of all, the light. Okay, when I ordered this, I didn't know I was going to have to build the thing as well. Well, it can't be too complicated, can it? I don't know if you saw in the time lapse, I did a man thing. I just tried to build it without looking at the instructions. It went horribly wrong. I had to start again. Just read the instructions. Why do we not do that? No, I can handle this on my own. Anyway, so it comes with like a nice cool light there. It's the bulb is one of those. Oh, hang on, let me turn down the ISO so you can maybe sit. No, you can't. Anyway, it's got one of those yellowy sort of lights, which it might look okay, it might not. I don't know yet. But if not, I've got a more powerful 6,500 Kelvin one, like a daylight sort of one. But we need to get a vase, don't we, to go underneath this. So we've got a decent amount of height. Look, there's my hand. So we've got good height. I think IKEA is going to help us out in this situation. I'm just going to go to IKEA, look for something there. I've been there a few times in the past and I've had some really good glassware. So hopefully they've got some this time. So guys, I think we have got the perfect vase here. It's an unnecessary amount of packaging. There we go. Oh yes, that's looking good. Hang on. Right, there we go. Yeah, perfect little height for it. I'm not quite liking how that actually sits on the bottom there. I think what might be quite cool is to make a little wooden base for it so that it's like a half moon base out of wood that raises it up enough to sit and not touch that light stand, because although it's balancing there, I kind of don't like that gap. It just looks a little bit naff, doesn't it? I think if we make a little base for it, it'll just look a lot more profesh, wouldn't it? Profesh. And I'm thinking a base like I've made for this tank, so the wood's the same size as the actual tank base itself. Then I've got a light attached to the back of it, but I like the effect that you get with, you know, having that wood at the bottom. So I think if I do a circle of that, and then, or disc, sorry, or a half moon disc, so the light can indent into it, but it raises. Oh, why am I showing you on it? It's not even on here. Hang on. Click subscribe. Okay, there we go, we've got our base. Now, it's not a perfect circle by any means. Looking perfect, and then I can just draw around it. And then that's the section. Can you pick that up? There we go, that's the section that I need to cut out. Then we've got a half moon to keep. So you can see everything's sitting flush. I need to stain that because it looks a horrible colour. I like the stained wood effect. I just think it looks really good. On this aquarium, this is my Amazon aquarium. It's got some really cool fish in here. But yeah, you can see the whole stand I built, and I stained it the same colour I'm going to use now. The wood with that stain, it just looks so natural against greenery and plants and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to do that now. So that's going to look so much better when we've got all our substrate in there. You won't see the base then, obviously, will you? So the substrate's going to come up to about this height, and then the rest of it's going to be plants. Not like a huge amount, because it's not a massive vase, is it? But it's a good size to have some fun with. I call this a fun size vase. Right, first of all, we need to get that substrate in. So this is going to be a no filter tank. Now, one of the key features of a no filter tank is a deep sand bed. Obviously, we don't want to go too deep, because there won't be anything left for plants, but you know, a good 1.5 inches, I'm thinking. Now, before you put your sand bed in, well, I'm saying sand bed, I mean like a fine gravel, really. Fine gravel, coarse sand, that sort of area. You don't want anything too fine. But before we put any of that in, we've got to put a nutrient layer in the bottom, and for that we can use soil. And right here, I have got some regular garden soil. Now, I dug this up out of my garden, dried it out, sieved it, a long time ago, months and months ago. I've just had it sat in this pot ready for a setup at some point. Not got around to using it until now, but you know, it saves. It's not gonna, it's still gonna have all the nutrients in it, isn't it? So there's a good amount there. Probably won't need all of that because it's so nutrient dense. But we want to put that in first of all as a base layer. So there we go, look, just a thin little layer. Now you might want to put some sand around the edge to not show the layer, but I think it's quite interesting actually seeing all the different layers that we're going to put in, seeing how the roots grow into them. You know, I just find that just fascinating. But for a cleaner look, sand around the outside first, soil into the middle. But like I say, I want to do it like this. Next up, we can put in our gravel on top. This will lock all this down. We don't want all of this soil getting into the water column, so we need a thick layer on top to make sure it stays right at the base of the aquarium. Aquarium? Vase? I mean, it's still an aquarium, isn't it? Even though it's a vase. There we go, look, I've just made a bit of a mess to show you the grain size. Now you could go a bit finer than that, you could go a bit more coarse than that as well, to be honest, but I think that's a really good sort of medium. Might be worth just capping a little bit of this with some sand. Yeah, I'm going to put a finer layer of sand in first, just a little thin layer just to cap it, and then I can put the coarser gravel on top. Basically then all the plants are going into the gravel. Yeah, so like I say, look, just a thin little layer, just to slightly cap that. I was a bit worried about it possibly leaching through the coarser gravel here, you see. So now that should cap it, then we're going to put this gravel on top. I'm really happy with that. I think that's a really good level. It's time to move on to the planting. Sometimes it's easier to fill the whole thing up with water first and then plant. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think I'm going to do that because then I know how it's going to look. Now remember, we do not want to disturb the gravel, sand, and most importantly, the soil underneath it all. So what I like to do is just lay in a piece of really bright paper towel and pour on top of that, and then it just gently sort of seeps over the sides and into the gravel, nice and steady. Take your time with this. Do not disturb that nutrient layer. Okay, there we go, we're looking smart. It's a bit weird because it's kind of refracting the background or the light at the moment, but once we've got the plants in there, look, you can see the background gravel there looking absolutely fine. It just makes the background weird. That's fine. You might notice that I filled that up with just a jug. The water was coming from this tank here, which is all fully established and cycled. So if you're filling up yours from the tap, you'll need to dechlorinate the water. Otherwise, you know, the next process won't work too well. You can buy tap water conditioner from many shops. I use the API stuff. It works really well. You only need a few drops anyway, so yeah. Next up though, we can start with the planting, and for that I've got tons to choose from. So for instance, I've got all of these ones down here in my storage tank. I've got all of these ones here in this storage tank, and I've actually got a load down here as well. It's late at night, so all the tanks are actually turned off. I've just turned on the tanks for the area we're working in. Now, hang on, let me switch these ones on. Right, so down here is another storage tank. These plants in here are looking absolutely great. I think I'm going to go for a few of them actually. We've got some S. Repens there, ludwigia palustris super red. This is Pogostemon stelliatus or something like that. Anyway, that's a really good plant. We've got Rotala rotundifolia. Oh, we've got some good little floating plants as well. We've got loads to choose from. So I've gone for a sort of main focal point plant there. I think it looks really smart just in the middle like that. But we need a nice background stem to go behind it. I'm thinking this plant here, which is one of my favourites. It grows so fast, but under higher lighting it stays compact like you can see here. This is Limnophila sessus. Look at all these Amanos everywhere, and pretend I can't pronounce the name of this. Yeah, so I'm going to put a clump of these to the sort of left or right of that background plant, and then some of the Rotala rotundifolia here just to the other side, just because they look so good together, because they're quite different. So yeah, that works well. So hopefully now you can see why I like to fill up with water first. I can see how the stems are sitting straight away from the top view here. Like you can see I've put them at the back behind that main focal plant in the centre there. But yeah, it's just quite cute, isn't it? They're going to grow fast and tall in no time, so just a few stems like that at the moment is more than enough. Oh yes, we're looking good so far. Now we do need to add in a bit of red, I think, for some punchiness to this corner here to close that gap as well. So I'm going to do rotundifolia, which is the same as that one, the background there, but it's the H Ra variety. Okay, let's have a little look at how we are doing. Really like that. That Pogostemon erectus, the fine details on it just look fantastic, don't they? So I think what I want to do now is just plant a sort of carpeting plant in this foreground area. So I'm going to use some hairgrass. Actually, no, I'll put some S. repens that side and then hairgrass right across the front, just to sort of tie it all in nicely. So you've got like short, medium, and long at the back. That should look really good. Oh, yes, looking really good now, and I just want that hairgrass in that front area there, and for that I've got like a pot of it there, a whole pot there, and a whole pot there at the back there, ready to go. So just grab that one, break it all up into small pieces, and then plant it. Oh yes, I am so pleased with how that's turned out. It's looking so good. It's going to be like an amazing little thing just to look into and just see what's going on and what's developing over time. I love little scapes like this. Now if at any point you've got any soil or disturbed the gravel too much and any soil went into water column, just do a massive water change and fill it back up again. You should be fine. I didn't disturb any at all actually, which was quite lucky of me. So I don't need to change any water at all for the time being. But what I do want to do is put a couple of little floating plants at the top there. That should just help us even more with the initial startup. There we go, look, just a couple of pieces of Salvinia. This stuff spreads so fast, especially with the light right on it. So from down below, look, you can see all the roots coming into water. They will suck out nitrates and they're just going to get everything so clean. This is basically a nutrient sucking bomb we've created. So basically a ton of fast stem plants in a small area, apart from obviously the hairgrass in the foreground, but that's still going to grow pretty quick in this conditions, to be honest. I normally get it to grow really well with these little setups. But next up we need to decide what we're going to put inside it. Now some people wouldn't like to put any fish in something like this. Now I wouldn't put big fish in it, but I can put fry in it as a place, like a safe haven for growing out some fry, and also for a couple of shrimp will work really well as well in keeping those potential algae levels down. They're always going to be food for the shrimp because they'll eat dead plant matter or whatever you feed the fish as well. But I've got a load of endler fry that will go really well in this little scape. Now some of you might be thinking, oh, the tank isn't cycled, how can you put fish in it straight away? Well, because it's such a small tank, we can deal with something that's called a fish in cycle. Well, you can do this on big tanks as well, but it's a little bit more complicated. But in a small tank like this, it's super easy. So the fish create such a small bioload because they're tiny anyway. And also because it's so small, it's so easy to change water. I can drain that out and fill it back with dechlorinated tap water in a few minutes. Now, if you're not willing to do that, then do not do this. But for every day, for the first week at least, I'm going to change almost all of that water. I'll leave like an inch at the bottom for the fish to sit in, obviously. And then fill it back up, dechlorinated tap water. And I'll be doing the same every single day. And I'll be adding in some beneficial bacteria each time as well, just to get that colony building in that sand bed and on those plants and all the surfaces. So yeah, as I said, this is a fish in cycle. It's not complicated. It doesn't cause any harm on the fish because there's no nasties building up in the water column. Before they can do that, you've already swapped it out for brand new fresh water. So week 1, we do it every day. Week 2, we do it every second day. Week 3, every third day. Then after that, you can just do it as and when required. I've done this so many times in the past with no problems at all, but you have to be willing to put that work in. And over here is where those guppies are. This tank, there's actually way more in here than you can see at the moment. I'm going to move a good 4 of them, I think. I'm going to keep that male, which is really tiny. Look how small they are. And 3 of the females. And I think they'll just go really well in that scape. Once they get too big, we'll move them across to a big aquarium, which is in the other studio. So this is the main endler tank we've got here. This is a 4-foot tank. It's an ecosystem, and it's had basically 1 or 2 water changes since I set it up. Water level's a bit low. I like to keep it down a little bit because we don't want any fish jumping out, and I just find this stops that. You're always going to get fish trying to jump otherwise, especially these endlers. They like to hop quite a bit, but they're looking great, aren't they? But it's not about them, it's about those other ones. There we go, so we've got the 1 male, we've got 2 or 3 females there, and then some really small baby fry as well. So yeah, we've got 2 generations, 1 male, some females, should be pretty good. So that's the fish sorted, but we need some shrimp as well, just to, you know, complete the cycle, the ecosystem. They'll do all the cleaning, the fish poop, all that sort of thing. For those, I'm going out here to my plant storage area, which at the moment it's got this tank here, which is where I'm keeping most of my shrimp in. There's a little bit of algae going on, but that's only because recently I started noticing some algae, and I was like, what's going on? And I checked the lights, and all the timers have been switched off from a power cut. It was just, I had the lights on for like 2 weeks straight, which isn't great, but it's all clearing up now. Should be fine in no time. It's actually really good for the shrimp as well, all the algae, to be honest. It's Fred algae. You can see some like there, for instance. But yeah, we've got quite a good little colony of shrimp growing in here now. I've got black sakuras, blue dreams, I've got cherries, we've got wild type, so like the breeding as well. So we've got babies. It's not going to hurt at all to take a few out and start a new colony. It's always a good idea to do that as well, in case you get any mass die-offs or a tank crashing. You've still got a supply elsewhere. So I'm going to take a few out of here and put them into the new Vase Aquarium. I think you will be a chosen one, and so will you. Right, looking good. We've got 5 shrimp. We've got about 5 or 6 fish. One more thing we need though, and that is 1 little ram's horn snail. Absolutely perfect. There we go. The ecosystem is set. Release the fish. Sorry, I don't know why I'm making that so dramatic. Just put the fish in. There we go, look how cute is that. So obviously This is not a permanent home for fish, in my opinion. Not endless anyway. I just feel like they need a little bit more swim room. Some people are absolutely fine with keeping them something this size for a very long time. I mean, this is a good little grow-out tank, I would say. Smaller than the one that they were in, true, but at least I can monitor them properly in here. As they get too big, we can move on then to the bigger aquarium. But don't they just look great swimming around? Awesome. I don't think either that the sort of sphericalness of the vase affects them. I don't think it bothers them at all. I've watched fish in situations like this before, and they seem to just really enjoy moving around their own environment. Obviously, we can't know for sure. No fish has ever told someone that they don't like round bowls or vases, but you know, if you're happy with what you've set up, then that's all right. But like I say, we need to do routine water changes on this. Plants are going to grow really quickly. We've got a decent amount of light hitting the tank, so yeah, we're all good. If anything, we're going to be over clean. Only for the first few weeks though. After that, we can just let it sit back, create its own ecosystem, take the fish out when they grow too big, swap them back in for some more babies, and by that point we're going to have a good little colony of shrimp going on in there as well, because I put 5 in and I'm pretty sure 2 or 3 of them are actually females, so quite hard to tell because they're very young shrimp. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one's turned out. It looks great as well, doesn't it? It's such a cute little sort of thing to have in your home, essentially. Or this is the sort of thing you can put on your desk. Something really cool just to distract your mind, or if you're getting a bit stressed, you can take a little look in, dive into the little water world that we've created in here. Yeah, I think it's absolutely great. I hope you guys do like it as well, and it's something that you guys can have a go at. So simple, isn't it? Vase, bit of gravel, some plants, and a light. It can be any light, let's be honest. Really cheap little LED, whatever you want, but I just think this one looks really cool.